Hey guys, it's Joshua. In today's tutorial, we're going to do this Legolize effect where we can turn any object into Lego, and this is what it looks like. Alright, as you can see in that preview, you can see that there's just an empty cup, and then this Lego one builds up, takes its place, and then sticks there. You can also see there's some Lego cup is in the reflection, and it's building up in the reflection as well. And we got this little glow line that you don't need, but it just kind of adds that little cool effect to it. So the way this actually works is we're going to track the footage, track a 3D mug to the position of where this one is, and then Legolize the mug, and then we're going to do a little plane animation in Cinema 4D to add this little random effect. And then yeah, that's pretty much it. So to begin, you want to grab your footage, drop it in a new comp, and I will offer this footage in the description download. It's just the mug and the camera is kind of panning around it. You want to come to track camera, advanced detail analyst. While that's going, what you could do is actually go online, and I'll offer this website in the description. It's free 3D and you can find the model you want. So for me it was the mug, so I just typed in mug, and then I looked through all these ones, which one kind of matched the shape, and I ended up downloading this one, and just click download and you can create it. You're looking for an OBJ file if that's the best, or if you don't, you can find something else like a FBX, import it to Cinema 4D, and then export it as OBJ. But you need an OBJ to make this work. The second thing is this Bricker program. This is the the program that actually will turn it into Lego. So you drop an OBJ model into this, and it Legolizes it, or creates Lego bricks where the model is. So somebody had like a Yoshi model, and then they put it in this, and then it created the Yoshi out of Lego. Alright, so you want to download that just right there and then follow along. So now that the track is done, we want to create a plane so we can have a plane for the reflections. So I found one over here that works the best. So if you create a solid, I'm going to scale it up a bit and then move it. Scale this up, rotate it. I'm just trying to match it to the table. So just looks a little bit better, so you drop a grid and kind of see sticking to the table. And then I want to create another one. This one's going to be on the mug, and this is just for reference. So when we're placing the I'm going to name this mug. So when we're placing the CG mug, we know kind of where in 3D space to put it. That's going to be the floor. Alright, so I'm going to take the grid off the floor. And I'm going to create a new null. Put this on the top. If you can't see the 3D thing, it's on the bottom here. You just got to toggle the switches. I'm going to make it a 3D. Grab the camera, the floor, and the mug by holding shift. Grab the pickwick and attach it to it. This is so we can scale the scene a little bit better, because you can see the objects are way over here and huge size. So if you grab the null, press S, you can scale it down. Don't go to you go to 0, kind of glitch out, so I wouldn't stay above 0. But now like the scene is actually in your scene to say. Then we can go back to one view, and it's still tracked perfectly well. And you can delete the null. Alright, and then we want to come up to File, Export, Maximum Cinema 4D Exporter. Click OK. You want to find where you want to do it, so I'm going to do Tutorial Tracked. Press Save. And now this will be exported into Cinema 4D. So open that file. I'm going to come here, Tutorial Track. This with the thing over here, this won't be how your Cinema 4D looks when you open it. Mine's just got redshift with it, so I kind of customized it, but it'll look like this, and that's perfectly fine. But now you can see that your scene is like tracked and moving along the footage. If you have this problem where the plane is on an angle and this is where your table should be, what you can do is click on everything by clicking the bottom one and holding shift, and then click the top. Exit out of this view, and we're going to rotate it. So if you hold 1, you can move it like this, 2 zooms in and out, and 3 turns it. Hold 1, and I'm going to rotate it so this plane is flat. Alright, now you can see that this orientation plane is actually matching the ground now. Alright, and we want to create a background. Whoops, not a floor. Background. So if you hold that, you can create a background. Double click, click on your material. You can get rid of the reflective, you don't need that. Load image. And this is where you want your footage. So I did a PNG sequence. You can do an dot MP4, I believe, but PNG always just works a little bit better. No, click on it, come over to animation, and then calculate. You'll see this number changes. Then you want to go to editor, animate, preview, and then drop that to your background. And now we'll have the background stick to your footage so you can see that better. All right. So now we're actually going to get the Lego model. So if you come down here, type in Bricker once it's downloaded. So for here, you want to load your shape. So this is your OBJ model that you downloaded. So mine is the coffee mug. So here, I'll import that. And then this is where you check your resolution. For the tutorial, I did 45. If you do 100, there's like, for the mug at least, if I did 45, it was about 6,000 pieces. And if I did 100 resolution, and I mean it can go higher than 100, you can go up as high as you want, I believe. But the more resolution you got, the more pieces and the slower it gets. I wouldn't recommend going too high, but not going too low, so that there is enough pieces. And then after you choose a resolution, like I'll choose 45, I'll click OK. And it's going to do this like 3D scan of the model. And then you'll have this Lego model of your object. For me, it's the mug, obviously. But you can see that it's all one block, so it's 1, 1, 1, 1. To fix this, we can go to Auto Optimize. And what this is going to do, it's going to turn those 1 blocks into like 4s, 2s, and anything it can. Alright. As you can see, there's like a 8 block, and then there's a 6 there, and 4, 4. So it just gets rid of some pieces and makes it look a little bit better. You want to do Finalize. So it just kind of fixes out the little holes or anything that I had problems with. Then you want to export. So I'll go to the tutorial. Name this Lego mug. Save. Alright, and then you can get rid of that. If we come to File, Merge, go to Tutorial again, Lego mug, open. I always scale it a little bit up because they always, when you export it out of the Lego thing, it always exports it really small. A good spot to start is 25, I found. And this takes a little bit of a while to import because it does have a few pieces in it. But there it is. There's the Lego mug. So a few things I like to do first is I like to get rid of all the materials. So if you click on the first one, all the way down, hold shift, the last one, and then delete. Do that. Second thing is I like to come up to MoGraph, create a fracture, click the last brick, go to the top, and then import it into the fracture. And then delete the Lego mug. And I'm going to rename this to Lego mug. In here, I want to change the pivot point because you can see the pivot point's way over here. Like move it. So if you come up to the previews again, click on this little enable axis, and then we're just gonna move this until we get the middle. So use the top and the right ones to figure out where it is. Alright. This helps it so if you're scaling it, it'll scale from the bottom. It won't be scaling it here. So if you scale it from here, it goes up and down. If you scale from here, it only goes up and to the side. So it just helps when you position the bottom, you don't have to keep moving it. Okay, so what we want to do is move this back. So you can see here, this is the plane that we use to know where the mug is in 3D space, like from here to here. You want it just to be kind of pushing out. We're going to be scaling it up anyways to get the size of the mug. So you're going to have to keep moving it back and forth. But this part takes a little bit of time, and what you're doing is pretty much just trying to match the perspective of the other one. So what I do is I like to turn this one off a few times. Find a sweet spot I like for it. So I'm actually going to rotate this just a little bit. You're just going to keep scaling and position and moving. You can move it along the axis like this. Since it is Lego, it kind of looks, it doesn't look too stretched. Like, don't stretch it out way out here. But like, you can stretch them out a little bit and people won't notice. Kind of. Alright. The best way to do is to scroll through it in the timeline and see if you can see any part of it. So now you can't really see anything, but if I turn it off, you see it's a little bit higher than what the actual mug is. But I think for now, actually, that's quite good. Oh, you can see it on the bottom here. And the thing, so I'm gonna move this down. And focus more on like covering it near the end, because that's when, like, from frame 20 to the end is kind of what you need. So if it matches here and doesn't match here, there's no point. So try to make it so it covers up at the end. Alright, so that looks good. You don't really see anything. It's a bit higher than what the other one is, but no one will really notice that. Right, and then you want to click on the actual Lego mug, come up to transform, go to color, and then change this to black. We're going to click the Lego mug, come up to MoGraph again, effectors, and then shader. And this will kind of change the shape of it. We don't want that, so if you come over to parameters, you can turn off the scale. And then we're going to come up to shading, change custom shader to color, create a new material, and this is going to be our noise. So you don't need reflective, you can come to color, click the little pick arrow, go to effects, oh no, it's actually right there, noise, and then we're just going to drop this on the shader. The way we're going to actually be customizing the colors in random spots is we're going to use the noise. The whitest part will be one color, the darkest part will be one color. This is the best way I guess you can do it. We're going to create another material. This is going to be actually Lego bricks. So we're going to come up to texture, effects, or MoGraph, multi-shader. And then we're going to click on multi-shader. And this is where we want to add our colors. So the first one, whichever color is on the top, you'll see more of. So it's come up to color and say white. I want a lot of white. Next one I want, click on it. Maybe I want some reds. And you click back. This is the back arrow up here. And you want to add color. Let's say a blue. Too dark. And the way this works, so if I drop this onto the Lego mug, it kind of looks really big right now, but if you come back to the noise one and actually click on the noise shape, you want to scale this down. So I'm going to change it to like 4 for now. And if you do the high clip, it gets rid of like the different colors, so you can kind of randomize it like that. Then you come back, multi-shader, add another color. Oops. You can add alright, and then you get this little pattern of where you want it. And if you don't like the order or the way the colors are, you can always rotate them. So say if you want more red, you can press up, and then the red and the white will switch. So yeah, so just play around with the ups and downs until you find something. Like I actually quite like this one. Those colors randomized and doesn't look too out of the ordinary. Alright. So then we want to show our floor again, and I'm actually going to scale this down. You only need it to be size of where your reflection is, because you don't do the shadows. You can do the shadows if you like, but I didn't do the shadows because if your object is changing to LEGO, the shadow should pretty much keep the same. It's just the reflection would kind of give it away if you didn't change that. I'm going to copy the material we use for the background. Rename this to floor. Double click on it. Go to reflective. Get rid of the specular one. Add a GGX. Put a layer freshen. And then dialect. The reason we're doing this is to add the reflective floor. And since this table's got a bit of roughness to it, you can see the reflection of the mug is kind of like blurry. That's the roughness. So if you increase the roughness, it's a lot more blurry. If it's not blurred all the way, you can do it in post, like in After Effects. You can change the blur a little bit, so don't worry about it too much if it doesn't work. And then I'm gonna drop that to the plane, go to the floor, and go to the material, sorry, and change this from UV wrapping to frontal. And now we'll take the position of that. I want to create a new light, area light, and drop this back. So in this scene you can see the shadows are going out this way. So the light source was over here, and I know it was because that's where the window was. So I'm gonna put the light source over here. Turn it. Bring it up. The other thing too is if you have an HDR, you can add that. So I'm going to drop a sky, create a new material, and this is just so you can get some reflections. It's not essential, but it does help with compositing a little bit better. So I have this little shot of my room in a 360 panorama, and then I'm just going to apply that to the sky, and then I'm going to add a Cinema 4D tag, go to compositing, in my camera. This is so it gets the stuff from the reflection, but it doesn't view it in the viewport. I'm also going to come to the light. We're going to change some things on that. We don't need any shadows, so you can keep that off. And increase this just a tad because it's a bit far. The other thing is too is we don't want this plane to reflect the actual reflection of the HDMR. HDR or HDRI. So if you come over to the compositing tag, go to object or exclusion, you can put things in here. So I'm going to put the floor in here. So now the reflection won't have any effect on the floor. So it'll just be the cup of the reflection. If we do a quick render, so I'm going to actually turn off save, add effect of global illumination, ambient occlusion. For global illumination, I'm just going to put it for low for just now. Standard physical. Change this to when you're actually going to render it, I would recommend changing it from low to medium at least, because there'll be a little bit less noise. Now if we render this, you can see the planes there, so I'm going to actually turn that off. Mug, we don't want that, so just click the bottom red dot twice and then disappear. And I'm actually going to change the settings first. 1280 by 720. And you don't want it to render all frames right now, so just change that from all frames to current frame. And then let it render. Alright, and then you can see that there's the reflection on the ground. Colors are there. Got a light source. Everything's looking good. So the only thing we have to do is add a tag to this so that you don't see the difference here. So to do that, I'm going to add a compositing tag. And what I want to do is receive shadows, cast shadows, and composite background. Now if we render, now when we render, you don't see the seam that it had before. Alright, so you want to fool around with the lights, match the lighting, get everything a little bit better. But this is pretty much the general idea of how to do it. And to render, what we want to do is come up to the actual LEGO mug, go to compositing, and object buffer enable. So it's this buffer 1. And this is just for multipasses, so when we add multipasses, I want to add an object buffer and then reflections. So when we render, this is going to render out separate passes for these, so then we can change them afterwards in After Effects, just so we have a little bit more control of each one. Okay, so exit out of that. Now we want to actually make the LEGO material look a little bit better than just the diffuse. And to do that, we go to reflective. And we're going to remove this one. And we're going to add a GX again. Change that to dialect. Change the custom to EET. And then increase the roughness just a little bit. This is not the best way to do LEGO. It's a quick kind of real way to make it look. It doesn't look just as real. I am actually working on a tutorial on how to make real LEGO renders. If you want a quick sneak peek, I can show you that. And this is what I'll be showing you in a little bit. Alright, so this will do for now, kind of. It's nothing too amazing, but if you follow the tutorial in a couple of weeks or a couple days that I'll be making on how to render LEGO real closest to the LEGO movie, then you can use that here and it'll work just as fine. Now we want to add that little animation of the LEGO building up, and to do that you want to click the LEGO mug or the whatever fracture you created, tomograph plane. You want to go to plane, and you can see that it's not there anymore. You just turn off position, go to scale, uniform scale, and then keep it at 0. And we want to come out to fall off. We're going to go to box, change this to like 20, 20, and 20. Yeah. So if you change it to -1, not 0. And you also want to invert it so that when you come from the bottom, you can come up like that. Alright, so we want to keyframe this. So bring it down. I started my keyframe around 13 because it takes a little while for it to warm up. So if you go to auto keying, that's easiest. So just kind of move it a little bit. So you create a position key. And then go to like 44. And go all the way up. You can see this one changes the bottom and the top. Fix that, you just kind of increase the scale a little bit. Now we have this animation of it building up. The other thing I did was you turn off the auto keying now, so you change the position and then change this to like 1. It kind of comes down and then clicks. That's how I had it in the animation thing. That's how you do that. Oh, now it's ready to render. So come into the render settings. I'm gonna go to multipass, and the object buffer and the reflection are there. Multipass is there. You do want to save it now. So you're gonna save this to wherever. So I'm gonna go to tutorial, create a new folder, render. I'm gonna name this main render. For the multipass, you want to do the same thing. I'm gonna change this to PNG. I'm gonna name this multi or molt. That'll be easier. Save. PNG. You don't need an alpha. Change that to PNG as well. But yeah, so if we render one frame here, you'll see that we actually have things now, and these things are used so you can composite later a little bit better. As you can see, this one's not built. That's because the effector is a little bit to the right. I'm gonna have to move the effector so it actually builds that. But what we have, if you go to single passes, we have the cut by itself, the render, and then there's the reflection on the ground in there. So that's pretty much what we need for it to work. But I'm gonna fix this plane problem. We come to 44. You can adjust this so it's wider. Alright. Then you want to change your settings. Change it to 1920 by 1080. You can keep it at 720 because you are scaling it up anyways. So it doesn't fully matter, but you can choose which one you want to do. I'm going to do manual. Since the effect doesn't really start happening until like frame like 14, I'm going to do 14 to 79. So that you don't have to render 14 frames of nothing. And you want to come up to physical, change this to medium at least, and then start your render. Alright, and once you're done, you'll bring it back into After Effects and I'll meet you there. Alright, once back in After Effects, what we want to do is we want to import those things. So you go to your render spot. I'm going to be using the render from my last one because I didn't want to re-render it. So there's the animation. Here's the alpha. You just want to import all the things you created. So this is the main. It's the alpha. Reflection. I'm going to turn off the floor in this thing there. Grab the alpha, the main, and the reflection. Drop them all in. Put them down here. And we want the alpha on the top, so it shows that. Then we want the main as the second one. If we toggle the switches here, we're going to change this to alpha or Luma matte. So now it's just this. And then we're going to put the reflections on the top. We're going to change these to add. So now you can see the reflections are on the bottom there. If you don't like how much they are, you can go to T and turn it down. If you want more, you can actually add exposure and then bring it up. This will make the reflections on this a little bit bigger too. So a little workaround you could do is mask it. So just mask out like the bottom here. Drop one of these two. If you click M on the keyboard, create a path, and you just want to mask the position of where these are. Turn the exposure down, doesn't need to be that bright. And then like I said before, if it's not blurry enough, you can just add a fast blur and then blur it out even more. But I actually like that quite a bit. Bring down it just that. Now you can see that what we have the Lego building up and then blocking down. Alright. That little animation, what we want to do is we want to get the main and the alpha, right click, pre-compose, and name this main Lego. Duplicate it, and I want to create a mask kind of just on the top part, so when the animation starts, get this mask, press M on the keyboard, and then go to the very end, press V to get rid of the mask thing, and come over here all the way up. I'm gonna scale this out and get the handle as well. Let's see what we got. Not getting that all the way. That's kind of what we get. I'm gonna feather that. Add a tint and a VC color vibrance. You can do this any color you want. I found orange just looks the best, and I'm not too sure why. It just, every other color doesn't really go with it as well. But you change it to add, unsolo it. So now we have this little kind of fine line, and you want to add a glow. Bring the threshold down a little bit and bring up the radius. Now we have that little build-up. You want to make sure too it ends at the top. So once it's here, you can press Alt and then square bracket. End it so you don't have that glow constantly there. But if you don't like how it feathers, you can always feather it a bit more. So it's kind of matches it a little bit better. But that's how you create that little build-up glow effect, I guess. And then we're going to do a little bit of compositing. So for this, I'm not going to be doing a very long composite because that's not what this tutorial is about. But compositing is essentially just making this look as real as possible. There are many tutorials out there, but this is kind of what I did. So it's like you can drop a tint to get rid of the saturation because there is a lot of saturation in it. Just go like that. I'm going to go to the final one. And you can see the highlights are a little bright, so I'm going to drop actually a lumetri. This is not really the normal way of doing it, but this kind of works for me. So increase contrast if you like. I'm going to bring down the highlights because I don't want the whites to be reflecting that much. Bring up the shadows. And then maybe just do the saturation around the same. Bring down the temperature. So this is kind of like flattens out the highlights and brings up the shadows. You want to add a fast blur. I'm gonna keep it around 1 0.5, and then you can do some motion blur. I applied it to the whole layer, so I just got an adjustment layer. I'm using Real Smart Motion Blur. You can use I think it's Force, yeah, CC Force Motion Blur. I just found Real Smart Motion Blur is just a little bit faster. You don't need it, you can use the Force one, but yeah, that's pretty much wrapping the tutorial up. You can see you can spend a lot more time with the lighting, a lot more time with the actual materials if you like, or just kind of making this match the scene a little bit better. You can see the reflections are there now, and the cup is there. And yeah, it's pretty neat. You can do this with pretty much any model. You just got to find a 3D model of it and then make it work. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I'll be creating more LEGO tutorials very soon. Like I showed you the little preview of the LEGO material that I've been working on. Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoy. Have a good time. Bye.